Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 218 of the Winners and Losers Show with me, your host, Hank Thompson. I'm your host, Hank Thompson. Thanks for tuning in. I'm joined by, I don't know how to describe this gentleman. I think his skills transcend description. Matt Strackbein of the Letterhack, a talented man, an artist of unparalleled grace, gentleness, long hair, smoothness, talent, repeatability, management skill, niceness guy stuff. How do I, what, you're a comic, I don't even know how to describe a guy like Matt Strackbein, actually. I was first introduced, this is how the podcast goes, Matt, is I talk for 45 minutes and then we say goodbye.
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
All right. And, but you were first kind of hit the scene drawing, figures, what do you call them? Caricatures of various
cartoons, comics.
Cartoons, comics. Okay. Various figures of the online left media universe, right? And so, and like you kind of got some attention from Majority Report. And give us a little bit of background though about your. I'm fascinated to hear about your career because you had a whole. You're like an old man. You look like a really healthy 37-year-old, or like a really old 37-year-old, or like a really healthy 65-year-old. That's the phrasing I meant to go with there. You know what I mean? Like I look terrible. I'm like aging like
no, you don't.
Like wine on the moon, and a lot of solar radiation up there. And you're so you have a whole career before, and now you're an online guy, and you've launched with your partners or comrades, whatever you like to call them, this space, which I hope we're going to talk about. I know we're going to talk about. So I've been on your show a couple of times, and this is how I've done the intro. Now you talk. Answer something, motherfucker.
I mean, thanks for all that stuff. I mean, it's really nice. I think that I set out to be a good time Charlie. I just wanted to have fun in my life. I wanted to party a lot. I wanted to have a lot of friends. I wanted to walk in a room and have everyone go, there he is, and I don't know why, but it was really appealing to me in my 20s. And then I moved to Colorado from my hometown in Maryland, and spent the latter half of my 20s and my 30s trying to make up for all those good times and time wasted. And I never went to college because I knew I couldn't afford it. And I was like, if I'm going to have to work my way through college, I should just work my way through life. So I started I had been working a myriad of jobs and thought, I'll try everything when I moved to Colorado, but working in restaurant kitchens landed. So I did that. I was running a breakfast kitchen. I was the head guy, the head cook. And that got old quick because breakfast starts at like 4:30 in the morning.
And what didn't you like about waking up at 3:30 in the morning?
Yeah, it was tough. I got chased by a skunk more than once walking to work. I'm not kidding. And so then
what were you wearing?
Well, and it was in Colorado, it's always cold at that hour.
Yeah.
Even in the summer. And so I was like carrying all these jackets at home at like 3:30 in the afternoon, but anyway, I got a job. I had a friend who was working in a warehouse for an apparel company, and I started working for them, and I worked my way into shipping and receiving, and that was kind of cool because there was like 3 of us in this little unit. And then I was always making cartoons. This is something I've always done my entire life, is I would make cartoons of my friends and family or whoever in real time. Somebody would do something embarrassing or hilarious, and I would, document it as a cartoon or a comic. A couple of panels, a panel, a page, whatever it took. I did it through high school. There was a bunch of bands in high school. I was making comics about all the bands and stuff like that. And I don't know if I was popular for it, but I had a reputation for it. And people thought of it as really fun, but they knew I could weaponize that if I wanted to. And I could come at you. If I wanted to make somebody embarrassed or look dumb, I could do that with the art, but I rarely did.
Wow.
So when I was working in this apparel company, I would do that. And the owners caught wind of it. And there was like a holiday party where the owner came up to me and said, hey, are you the one doing all those cartoons? And some of them were kind of crude and crass. And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he goes, you should work in our art department. I was like, oh, okay, doing what? And he's like, graphic design. I was like, I don't know computers. This is
what age are you in now? We're in your 20s now?
And this was like 1999.
Okay.
So 1999, 2000. And I was like, I don't know that stuff. I don't know the programs. I didn't go to school for it. And he goes, we'll pay for you to take classes and learn all that stuff. And I was like, well, in that case, count me in. And so I did that, and I was assisting the head of it was like two twin sisters and their husbands ran this company and the embroidery screen print company that was like separate but the same building and everything. And I was assisting them in rendering their hand-drawn stuff on the computer. And it got to the point where I started making my own designs, doing catalogs, photo shoots. It was like a lot of stuff. And it was a very cool environment to work in. And for 4 years, I felt like it was a college education, but it was all on the job, and it was real world experience. And then after 4 years of that, I went to work for the screen print and embroidery guy doing the production. And so now I know the design side and the production side. And I got there, I got through 4 years doing that. And by the time I left, I was the production manager, also the art director. I had streamlined the entire system to a point where their 2 week turnaround was done in 24 hours, which was actually too fast. So
Why was it too fast?
I-
You're you're not building in
they
enough buffer for the customers and stuff. Like it was causing
no
problems being
no
too.
you can't charge rush fees if
Yeah,
there's no
that's what I mean. Yeah,
rush. If
right.
everything is a rush, yeah.
Yeah,
So they were like, Matt, slow down, and I was like, okay, well,
easy,
at least we
buddy. You're
know. Yeah, at least I know we can do it. And we had the exact right number of people, not too many, not too few. It was great.
yeah.
But I hit the ceiling and I was like, all right, it's time for me to move on. Right. And so I went to work as a production artist for Spider, which was a very famous ski brand. They'd been around for, I think, 25 years when I got there, 35 years when I left. And they were, designing downhill ski apparel for a number of different nations, the Olympics and stuff like that. So I started as a production artist. They fell on tough times. It was the economy, 2007, everything was like falling apart everywhere, 2007, 2008. And it got really, really, they had just gone public. And so they had to do layoffs and it was rough. So I was in that office every day for 2 years, and by the time we pulled out of it, I was designing. I was the second designer to the head of design. You know what I mean? And I was designing downhill ski race suits for 5 different nations during the 2014 Olympics, and then that got to a point where um, they started changing owners and management so many times that I was like, well, I've navigated these waters too many times, and I'm tired of every time there's a new guy coming in as the boss, I got to prove my worth all over again. Screw this. I know design and production. And look, this is the kind of industry where there's new, younger people coming along all the time. And I was like, any day now, somebody's going to make me look outdated or like too slow.
Mm-hmm.
It never happened. So I was like, oh, okay, they're teaching kids to be, students to either be designers or production artists. I'm one-stop shop. So I went freelance, and I don't like calling it freelance because I didn't do anything for free and I don't know how to use a lance. So
Fair.
I called it contract commercial art. And I advertised myself as a designer, production-oriented designer. So everything I design is production ready. You don't have to worry about hiring somebody else to take over where I left off.
So can I
And
just
that got me.
can I
Yeah,
just
go ahead.
get a little bit of separation from that in terms of design and production? I'm really fascinated by this kind of process stuff. I went to school for industrial distribution management.
Okay.
Looking back on it, I realize, and it's like manufacturing operations, supply chain efficiencies. It's like a technical business management degree. And so looking back on where I am now mentally, I realized it's because it was the most systems oriented thing. And I was just naturally drawn to that. So I love this. And that's how I do woodworking and video editing. And I kind of like to see the different talents, skills feed into each other. So you do a design, that's kind of the creative free flow. And you're mostly, all your work has been on computers, or like, because there was a long era where it's hand drawn stuff. Did you ever use just old fashioned ink or pencil and paper?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, everything. Crayon, chalk,
Oh,
whatever the design called for, I would do it and then scan it in and then render it online. I would make everything vector or just leave it in Photoshop. But there's this whole, people just do it and they give it to you without any idea who or how it's going to be reproduced on a garment. And they
So
don't
then,
even take into account what kind of garment. And
right.
like, is it going to be embroidered? Is it, how many times I designed something and like a year later they go, hey, pull that design up. We want to make a woven patch out of it. And I go, well, it wasn't designed for that. So I started designing things when I was self-employed to, I would do the design and say, here's the art. Here it is really small. Here it is large. Here it is as a screen print. Here it is as a sublimation design. Here it is as embroidery, a woven patch. I'll show it on a hat, a t-shirt. Here it is as a keychain. I would do all that stuff. And I would say, here's all the ways you can use it, ready to go. Here's all the files for those. You never have to get in touch with me again. However, if your vendor, whoever's going to produce it, like actually make it real, if they need anything, here's my number, here's my email, have them reach out to me. And they never did, because I gave them every possible thing that they could need, because I had, this like nearly, 20 years of experience
So
in dealing with every scenario.
on the production side, the mistakes, or let's say what's a frustration a production designer encounters? I mean, you kind of just sort of explained it, but the original art has to be produced in the proper Photoshop format, the proper DPI, the proper like color profile, and the proper, all sorts of different ways that contrasting colors can be printed on different materials, and like that sort of knowledge isn't necessarily taught, or isn't like you had all. Am I? You can tell me I'm wrong too. I'm just kind of going off my own bullshit. I don't actually really know. So please correct or fill in. And then like you're able to offer such a benefit because you had both things all in one package, kind of. And I've been able to sort of live an analog version of that, and like video editing and work I've done in the online web world, where I could do everything from writing to editing to tech stuff to one man shop type of stuff. Creates a lot of efficiencies in that sense.
I mean, I think one easy example is if I create a 10 color design.
Nice.
I will create each color on its own layer in Photoshop and assign a Pantone color to it. That way they can do a 10 color spot process print, screen print, or they can just, flatten it, go to the channels and break out the CMYK on their own, whatever. And there was a lot of software that came along after I learned how to do it all manually after my time as a master color separator. They began doing like software, and they had that software when I was doing it, but it was real shoddy. You would still have to go in and do a lot of manual repair and surgery. But like now, my understanding is like you don't need somebody to do it manually at all. But I would present it in a way. So if I was just doing production, and there was a point like in 2019 where I was like, I am done with contract working home in solitary confinement. Get me out of here, right? Like I need to be around people. And I just wanted to do production. It's like, imagine like you start working in a kitchen, and I did. So I have this analogy from real world experience, but you start in a kitchen as a fry cook. For some reason, that's entry level. I feel like you should be able to have a career at that, but whatever. So then you work your way up from fry cook or an entry level position to chef. You're running the kitchen. Well, then one day you're like, I just always wanted to be a fry cook. I'm going back to that. So I went back to production art, which they said was entry level. And I was like, they loved me at this company. It was this awesome sticker company called Sticker Giant in the town I lived in, Longmont, Colorado. And they were like, dude, it's not going to be long before we promote you. And I was like, I'll quit if you promote me. I don't want to be in management. I don't want to do anything besides what I'm doing right now. This is my passion. I want to do this. And it affords me to have creative juices left over to do my cartoons and stuff in my free time. Right. Yeah. So they, it was strictly production, and we were getting files where I was like, this isn't your logo. This isn't your company's logo. This is your company's logo that you were using for your Facebook profile pic. It's real low resolution. It's not going to render correctly. We need the original art. And they're like, I don't know where that is. And I'm like, well, who designed it? And they're like, I don't know. And it's like, okay, so now we just have to recreate this, and that's going to cost you. And so that's where, a guy like my previous life as a commercial contract artist would be very handy, because not only am I telling you, this is everything you need for success, but also here's how you can get in touch with me. And I've already charged you for anything that somebody would get in touch with me for. So it's not like you're going to incur more costs. So I was trying to make things economical for my customers. I was convincing them like, not only am I affordable, not only are you getting a lot from just one guy, but like it's never going to cost you more than this. Whereas other people are just trying to make money, and they don't care about what they're doing. And that's not totally fair. But you see my point is like I was really doing that. And so that gave me the opportunity to have people on retainer. I had clients on retainer. And it got to the point where I'm not kidding. I was making 6 figures a year working 40 hours a month. And
Man,
I was like, it
sign
was
me up.
boring. Fuck. It was boring. It felt wrong. And I didn't like it. I was going to the gym twice a day and I was going to the bar every night. And I was like, nobody should, this is ridiculous.
No one should
So,
suffer like I'm suffering right now.
well, but I mean,
there's a lack of fulfillment and challenge and
yeah,
alienation. Yeah, I get it. But yeah.
yeah. And so, but then like when I was working from home, I got my trusty iPad at that time. And this is the exact iPad I got back in 2016, I think. This one is still here. Works fine. It's same Apple Pencil. Haven't changed it at all. I haven't even changed a tip, which I probably should, but I don't need to.
Oh,
And that's when I was like, okay, all my social media presence up to this point has been silly. I don't want to do it anymore. And I think this was like 2018. I was just being kind of like contributing to the vitriol online. And I got off and I just wiped the slate clean and was like, I don't need to do this. I'm making money. I'm working from home. I don't need to be online. But when I started working from home, it was like Trump was running for president and became the nominee and then the election. And I went from listening to DVD commentary in the background to social media or independent media. And before that, it had been all MSNBC, CNN, and I knew Fox News was propaganda. I always knew that from the Bush era. And I was just became like not addicted. I was hooked. I'll just put it that way. The Young Turks was my entry point. That's when I was like, oh, my politics are progressive politics.
I need a home.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Nice to be home finally.
And just, I'll skip ahead just for a second.
Yeah, let's do it.
I have a Max Left hat right over here. So I'm not, things have changed.
We need men left. That's what I think we should call TYT. They're doing the most they can to stay left, but just a little bit not quite.
We just need hats that say leftish.
Leftish.
No,
yeah.
So
yeah.
I instead of leftist, there's something there.
I understood.
Let's put a pin in that. But I was listening to that stuff and decided, being the guy who always draws everything, I was like, you know what? I'm not paying for these services. I'm not a paid member. I was a paid member of TYT for a little while, but they got to the point where I was like, wow, these guys are just always yelling and screaming, and it's too much for me. I need to chill. I need something more boring. And I came across like Sam Cedar doing an interview, and I was like, oh, this seems like what I need. This is informative. It's chill. And I could hear Michael Brooks laughing in the background. And I was like, okay, and it's fun. They're having fun.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to not be boring. So this is good. Then I got obsessed with that stuff. And I was like, I need to give back. I need to promote this. Everyone needs to get away from cable news. Everyone needs to listen to and support this stuff. And I realized the audiences weren't migrating. Like there was some migration, but not like today where you see like, you can go from like streamer to streamer and see like, oh, there's the same 20 people in every stream, right? Every live chat. So I got to a point where I was like, I'm going to do my thing where I'm watching the show. Something funny happens in real time. There's built-in dynamics, the old school, the main show, or if it's Michael Brooks and Sam Cedar and then Matt Leck and Jamie Peck in the background commenting. The dynamics are built in. It's perfect for me to just illustrate in real time and put on Twitter or whatever before the show's even over. And I'll just do that for fun in the hopes that we can cross pollinate. And I was drawing groups of people. The more I discovered them, the more I would add people to these groups, and I would just do cartoons of them or whatever. And that really started to resonate with people because it was, on the one hand, they were like, oh my God, that was funny. I'm glad that's been like documented. You know what I mean? And I was like, well, it's kind of an advocacy of mine or an activism or whatever. And then also they were like, and this guy's like wicked fast. And it was off the cuff. I needed the immediate gratification that a stand-up comedian gets.
The drawing was off
You
the
know?
cuff, you're talking.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
just bang it out and be like, I'm not going to refine it. I'm not going to draw it in pencil and trace it in ink. I'm just going to go straight to ink, color it, put it out there. If you know what it is, great. If not, maybe I'll try a little bit harder next time, but it turns out I didn't have to.
And you're sorry, when you say ink, you mean you have a drawing board. You have a Wacom? What do you have? Is that what you mean? Or
I'll
you
use
mean
a pencil brush, I guess,
Okay,
and then
fine.
use an ink
yeah.
brush.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I still do it in the traditional sense. I used to do everything with the light table, which is right here underneath of my iPad.
Yeah.
And I wonder, people probably don't know what this is. It's in like a cloth cover, but it's always sitting there.
I have
Where
one of
would-
these. This is like an $80
There you
Huion
go.
that I
Yeah.
use. Yeah, I like it. It's fun.
So when I did comics, I would draw them in pencil and then trace them on a new piece of paper and ink using the light table. And then when it came time, you know, believe it or not, people wanted to buy my art. I could sell it that many different times. I could sell the pencils and the inks. If you want both, I'll give you a discount. But
So now
was
you're
pretty
getting
cool.
attention.
So
Things are
yeah. So I was learning to draw digitally, which for me was so different that I had to relearn. And I was like, I'll take this opportunity to change my style and be more realistic, to draw eyes differently, mannerisms differently, to make it look more like them, but still in my style, my cartoony style. But I want people to recognize who this is without a doubt. Right.
And the
So-
consistency across one to the next.
And so that really started to take off, and I was learning to draw again at the same time, and I was improving in a way that I was happy with, and I was gaining a reputation for this. And that went on to the point where I said, you know, and at this point I've gone back to work like full time. But that got to a point where I was like, I think I want to start doing this live. And I was like, I'm not going to do it on Twitch. Am I going to do it on YouTube? What does that look like? What do I need? How do I do this? My laptop was really old and it was very small. You know, I was doing a lot with very little for years. Like, people would look at my setup and they go, oh my God, it's just this little laptop. And I go, yeah, but I can do it anywhere, you know? And they go, where's your mouse? And I go, I do everything with a scroll pad. So like, I'm doing all my art on the computer with the touchpad.
Wow.
No mouse, no pencil or anything like that. And so when I and that to me was very hands-on. It was kind of like sculpting, you know. It was, there was no disconnect because it was my fingers, right? But like, then I had to start drawing with the Apple Pencil on the iPad, or didn't have to, but wanted to. And I was like, well, this is really different, you know? And I was working on comics independently with other collaborators and going to cons, and I was a art director for Comic Cons. So I had all this exposure to, like, you know, pop culture and art and people I considered icons in the industry and I was fans of, and I was talking to publishers and editors. I was a letterhack before and during all of this, writing to comics on a regular basis. That's how a lot of people knew me, as just like a fan.
Mm-hmm.
Then I was able to make some of those comics because the publishers were like, okay, we value your opinion and you're an artist.
Are you talking about what you did with
contribute.
Harvey?
No, this
That's
goes
different.
way back to like
Okay.
Hellboy. Do you know Hellboy?
Yes.
Hellboy
Yes.
comics?
I told Ron Perlman at TYT that I liked City of Lost Children, and he goes, thanks. As he was walking by me, I go, I love City of Lost Children. And he goes,
like, see, you're not French? Huh.
Yeah.
But like, I did this.
I've lost a little brother. Sorry, it's a great movie.
I
Keep going.
I
Hellboy.
I am now, it's debatable. So I always say arguably. I am arguably still the most popular Hellboy fan in North America. There's
I
one
keep saying that.
There's one in Scotland. There's one in Australia. People, we know each other, and the fan base knows us. I was writing letters to Hellboy Comics and all
Oh,
their
good.
extended universe titles on a
Yeah.
regular basis. I was in the letter column weekly, sometimes twice in one comic. They were sending me issues before they were out to get my input on them.
Wow.
The editor would call me and go, "Hey, did we ever name this one demon? Like,
Interesting.
did we ever name them like by name?" And I'm like, "Nope, never did. I can tell you for sure, you know." And or yes, it was this page, this panel, this issue,
So
whatever.
you became like an archival search
Yeah,
engine, a resource for
yeah,
them. That's amazing.
yeah.
That's strong
It's
fandom.
pretty
Like,
funny.
yeah, that's crazy.
So
And I was
they let
laughing
me
because
make.
when you said you'd write letters to Hellboy, like the comics, I thought maybe you're writing letters to the Hellboy himself, and I was like, he's not real. He's
Oh
not
yeah,
real.
no, thanks
Yeah,
for clearing that
yeah,
up.
yeah, yeah.
Wow,
That's
I
a
wonder
cartoon.
who. I wonder if
No,
those ever got to anybody. But no, it was Hellboy comics, and
that's
like
cool.
they said, could you make comics for us because their characters had these like extensive backgrounds. It was really complicated. And those are notorious books for having like no true jumping on point. You do have to kind of go back and like start over.
Uh huh.
And if you come in the middle or at the end, you're going to be like, I want to go back and start over. But like, they were like, hey, we just need a 2-pager at the end of this comic to bring people up to speed on this one character's legacy or whatever. So I would do that. And they asked me to put myself in the comic. And
Wow.
I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, make it like you from your point of view, like however you want to do that. And that's where the letter hack came from, because I started to view myself as someone in the Hellboy universe almost. Talking about, like, I don't know if you've seen the movies, but they show like baby Hellboy and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
was giving baby Hellboy a piggyback ride. Me, Matt, was giving baby Hellboy a piggyback ride in the comic, and they let me do that. He's like
Interesting.
choking me with the right hand of doom
Yeah, it's got the
when
huge
I'm
glove,
carrying him
right?
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like, I became like, I was doing that for the fans. I was like, look, I'm your access point. I am you. I'm representing you.
I babysit
I
Hellboy.
I'm gonna say
Yeah.
shit in this comic, and you're all
Hell
gonna
baby.
like. I put something in the comic one time where in the last panel I was like showing my wife a chart that I had made to like try and figure out an ongoing mystery in the
Uh huh.
comic story, and I was explaining it to my wife in the comic, and at the end she goes, "Honey, I love you, but I hope you don't talk to other people this way."
Right.
And so many fans of the books were like, "Dude, that's me." Like, oh my God, I've
They
had that exact conversation with my spouse.
so the
So
character
like
your
it was relatable.
character was literally like a fan, like you were sort of like a fourth wall
Yeah.
breaker, like you were a fan
Yeah.
of the Hellboy. You weren't just like newsboy who fell into a sewer tunnel and now he's our
Right.
friend because we fed
It
him
was
pizza.
me reading the comic,
Yeah.
zoom in on the panel. Now I'm in the
So
comic.
that so
You
it
know what I
has
mean?
it has sort of a I don't know if is that fourth wall breaking. I don't know the right terms, but it's that's
Yeah.
really fascinating that you
It's
were a
unique.
consumer who became part of the world, a little bit like
Right.
Fred Savage's titular film, The Princess Bride.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Kind of, yeah, okay,
And there were aspects of that
exactly.
for sure. But it got
That's
to the point where
interesting.
I was like, this is what I already do. I I draw things in a way that's like, hey, you guys already get this, but isn't it funny that I did it? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, we all saw so and so try and climb that tree and fall on his ass when we were 10 or whatever.
Hmm.
But I drew a picture of it and their sound effects, and a bunch
Yeah,
of change flew out of his pocket when he hit the ground, or that didn't happen.
yeah,
See
with
what I
little
mean? So,
yeah
like,
pain arrows.
there were layers to it that
Oh,
people were like, that's very meta,
I need to pause. I need to interrupt though. You're assuming a lot
What?
about what I know. So I want to ask you this:
Mhm.
What is a comic? What is a comic book?
A comic book is traditionally
Hmm.
stapled pieces of paper. It's called saddle stitched when
Yeah.
there's 3 or 4 staples in the spine. It is a story told utilizing the unconventional method of storytelling through the juxtaposition of words and images. Two separate elements coming together to create a harmony in order to convey a message, communicate a plot, that kind of stuff.
All right.
Some of them rely more on words, some rely more on images, some strike a balance. There could be a team of people making them, or it could be a solo job,
Okay.
one person doing it all.
So obviously I've seen comic books. I'm not like ignorant of like the format or something, but I didn't grow up reading them. We had an X-Men like I think it was an anthology or so. It was like a thick flat binder one that was a bunch of, it was just floating around our house. My brothers and I would open. So my question is more uh I think I don't appreciate the depth and the complexity and the variety of comics. It's something I've watched from your or learned from your show is your passion for it and also your talent at art and the way you can draw stuff the same thing from different angles. That's what really impresses me because I can do stuff from one angle. um, and the format of comics. So you're a very powerful advocate or I don't know ambassador. Like it's almost like you're reverse Hellboying. You're coming from the book out into the real world to try to get people to take on this thing because I think it's easily dismissed as just something weird little kids probably looked at, but it's a big industry and it's a
Yeah.
storytelling format that I think I'm sort of drawn to art storytelling using visuals, and I do mostly, I've done animation and shit like that, but I kind of want to start trying to write my own comics, kind of,
Hmm.
you know, using some of my skills and doing that on online probably, well obviously, but I guess the question is sort of like so Hellboy as a comic though is also a business.
Yeah.
And so there's companies that own these comic distributors. So I'm not sure what angle I'm asking you to explain perhaps so much, but your role in a Hellboy comic book, does that make you can like canon? I mean, I don't know. I'm not even sure what I'm asking about. I think just the overall
Unofficially.
yeah, the kind of the landscape of comic books I think is misunderstood. Is that
Yeah.
for someone from my
So
kind of outsider sort of viewpoint? You clearly have a very deep internal perspective from it.
I think a lot of people know of it as franchises like the
Okay.
Avengers or Superman, and those are owned by the publishers, and they hire people to work on that contract through contract labor. Hellboy and a whole bunch of other stuff are the rights are retained by the person that or persons that created them, and the publisher comes in for marketing, distribution, editing, that kind of stuff, like optimizing, right? But the decisions are made by the one person who retains all the rights. And so if somebody wants to make a movie about it, they can work with the publisher to do that, or they could break out on their own and do that. And the publisher then retains, there's all kinds of contracts, but they have some ability to make comics to promote or ride the coattails of the movie's success or whatever. But it is not what I would call franchise. It is not the kind of thing where people are like, there's going to be toys, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. There is, but not necessarily. It doesn't have to be that way. And I always think of Calvin and Hobbes
Right.
and how Bill Watterson was like, I don't want to do that.
So is
But
Calvin and
like,
Hobbes a comic strip or a comic book?
that's a
Or
comic strip. And
yeah.
that's the very first comic books were just collections of comic strips in print in a book. So you could, have your favorite comic strips. And then they were like, oh, we should make these ourselves. And then there was the question of like, well, how do we distribute them? So then, like, magazine distribution companies were like, we can make our own comics. That's actually how Marvel started. They were first timely comics because they were timely distribution. They were a distributor who started making their own comics, and they already figured out the main crux, which was distribution. I did a show recently that was all about how there was the number one distributor in comics had a monopoly for decades, and they claimed bankruptcy at the beginning of 2025, and it just created total havoc for all the publishers, especially like, independent publishers. These big guys, they'll be fine. They'll figure it out. But like that, it's a costly thing to happen, and the ripple effect is costly. But when it comes to like the comics I make, and this is funny because like a lot of like DC and Marvel do Kickstarters now. They do crowdfunding.
Wow.
And there's no shame in that. It's smart. It's like, let's get the orders in hand.
Right.
Let's not take a risk and do all the work and put it out there and have the retailers go, we didn't sell them. Can we have some money back, please?
So
Because there's
pre-sales
like
is
agreements
the
like that. Yeah.
yeah.
So they can do that. And then they can go, oh, look, we asked for 50 grand and made 3 million, which happens.
How do we do that for my documentary?
Right, right.
I'll give you
So
10%.
then they turn around and say, we got to do that again, right? So
Yeah.
like when someone like yourself says they want to make comics, all this stuff is probably going through your head in terms of possibilities. How all the possibilities lead to, well, what should I do? Here's what you should do.
All right.
Have your story.
Mm-hmm.
Figure that out, right? And then the art and the length of the book and the art and how many panels on a page, average 22-page comic is like 60 to 90 panels.
I'm doing 19 pages. We're gonna beat them. We're gonna beat them.
Well, but like when people look at it and go, oh, it's just a silly comic, there's a shitload of art in that comic.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea what goes into that.
Right.
And the choices you have to make along the way, right? Like it's very intense. So what I do is I say to myself, I need to stay true to my story. What's the concept? Of course, you can allow it to evolve and change. It's your story. But like, I need to stay true to this. I'm not going to make a comic while thinking, oh man, what if HBO picks this up for a series? What if this is a Netflix series? What if this becomes a movie? What if I could get this actor in it? Like that's the mind killer. Don't do that, because now it's like, well, now it's like a comic book publisher is going to look at your book and go, the fuck is this?
So that explains why Ted Danson won't text me back. Fucking
Maybe.
asshole. I keep seeing him at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And just next time you see him, be like, so does everybody know your name? I'm wondering. But like, you have to, it is an art form.
Right.
And anybody can do it for sure. And you don't have to be the best at it. There's all manner of styles out there. Some are very accessible, some are highly detailed, right? Like so don't look at it in terms of I can do it too, because a lot of people do it. Look at it in terms of my story would be better told as a comic book.
Right.
Or my story would be better told as a movie or a TV series or a whatever, right? Like a 1-panel strip versus a 3-panel strip. Look at it in terms of what your story would best be told at, what format it would best be presented in.
Can I pitch you my comic book plot story here?
Sure.
Okay, so Hank is a
well
I have a couple.
Hold on.
Yeah,
real quick.
No problem.
We are on an escalator at a convention. I'm on my way to my booth, right? I'm going to be selling comics.
Mm-hmm.
You say, oh, Matt, hey, it's me, Hank. And I go, hey, Hank, I've got, as long as this escalator ride to hear your pitch. Go.
All right. So autism is about, no, that's how I've told strangers about autism. Okay.
Well, so now you're asking me to get lunch. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, if it was going to be on this escalator ride, how would you pitch it?
Well, I wasn't prepared for this. I don't have, okay.
All right. Give me the TV guide blurb.
No. Okay. Well, you fucked me all up with this escalator scenario.
See?
Okay. I was going to give you the escalator scenario if you didn't ruin it with the escalator scenario. So I was going to give you the two premises I have that I've been developing.
Forget what I said. Just
exactly. But I'm doing it right now, actually. Is Suck Professor is where I drew the Hank character. In the documentary, he's the guy without pants. It's me. And I've been using him a lot, and he's sort of building out this universe of items and dungeons and stuff that he lives in. And he sort of... the kind of concept behind that is that he's a talk show host who shouldn't be hosting a show. I think it's very funny, a person who is, but he's also like a very successful YouTuber who has severe personality defects that cause all kinds of personal problems. But he gets sucked into the worlds that he's covering. So there could be a whole Game of Thrones sequence. There could be a whole, he gets trapped in some kids show somewhere. He gets trapped in the Titanic explosion implosion thing, and somehow he has an adventure down there or something like that. Very versatile. But he's always getting in his own way. His plans constantly backfire. He's a total not megalomaniacal like in a bad way, but he just is like, he gets upset about other people's success a little too much, sort of behind the scenes. So kind of like a view of a person whose on camera profile is this like talk show host who shouldn't be doing it because clearly he's not good at it at all. Yet he has a charm to him. And then behind the camera, the shift is towards a kind of a personality that causes a lot of problems in a funny way because you can lean
So
on narcissism. That's just one of them.
this is what I would say. If you gave me that pitch, I would say
Longer escalator.
You had me at no pants.
Okay.
No, but we get to the top of the escalator, and I would definitely stop and keep listening because this is good.
Oh.
What? Despite all the details and all the different threads that you could go down, and all the story points and plot points, despite all that, and despite the character, you got to have a good title. So you're gonna have to come up with that, right?
Suck
but
professor.
I don't know.
Sucking off professor.
Work. I don't know, but
right,
let's come back to that, right? Because that's actually something that you can come up with afterward.
Yeah.
After the whole thing is done. But like what you've got is an idea that isn't boring and has like unlimited possibilities.
Right.
Like there's so much you can do with that premise that you could throw readers into the middle and then dial it back and explain, wait, let's pause and tell you what's really going on here. That is a very engaging thing because you have the ability to tap into it's multi-genre.
Yeah.
So it's not as if it's like, if you like these kinds of books, you're going to love this. It's like, if you love literally anything, you're going to dig this book at some point. And that's why you would probably like the whole thing. Plus, I can tell that you're invested in it as a means of world building, which shows that you've I can already tell, you don't have to tell me, that I can already tell that you have backstories for your characters and that you wouldn't just throw somebody out there because, oh, I need a character here real quick. You would have like a purpose for that character. And I think that goes a long way. And I do think that would make a great comic. I also think it would be good for animation. So,
listen, they're going to close the Quiznos down in a couple of minutes. So why don't you hurry it up? Okay,
no, you got to get to
right. I wasn't planning on getting fucking wasted my time here talking to this distributor guy.
So-and-so is only signing for the next 15 minutes. I got to get in line or whatever. Yeah.
But I become the guy who's trying to get away.
They're giving out free enamel pins.
See, that would be a plot in Suck Professor is I
line.
get my chance with the big distributor guy on an escalator.
And then you fucking blow it. Right,
and then you start showing interest because you're like, this is a great idea. And then I'm like, fuck,
God damn, do I have to be here all day to listen to you tell me how good my idea is?
Because there's some General Tso's like pop up that I want to get to.
Is this part of it? Let me out of here.
That's the sort of thing where his personality sort of fucks it up.
That's
a great idea.
It's like, so when do I start making this book you seem to be really interested in? Can I get off the hook now? Yeah. That is hilarious. That would be great. Yeah, that's funny as shit. It's really creative. Yeah, I like that.
Yes. Do you want more of that? I have I'm just remembering other stuff I've done. But
my whole thing is these days that because
hold on. We have a freeze. We have a frozen.
And all my time drawing
Wait, back up, start that sentence over. You froze on camera.
These days, because I spend all of my time drawing, like, Sam Cedar. Is it still freezing up?
No, it was my internet, but yeah, go ahead. You're good.
Oh, okay,
drawing
cool.
Sam Cedar.
So these days, because, I was spending all my time drawing like Sam Cedar and actual people and nonfiction stuff. And I was using my comics and art as like an advocacy or a form of activism. I was doing anthologies against gun violence and racism and stuff like that. Like I got to a point where it was like, I just want to do something purely fictional, like just fun. It can have like themes that resonate with people on the left or progressives or whatever, but I want it to be like a work of fiction. I just want to be able to like break loose from real world stuff. And I did that, and I felt like it was a real accomplishment. I worked with a couple of guys who I just had such a great time collaborating with them on it. But then I got to a point where I'm at now where I'm like, nope, the world's got plenty of fiction. We need people with a message. We need people with not a moral to the story, but like, why are you doing this? For me personally, I don't want to make comics. And it's funny because if you read Marvel and DC comics right now, you'll be like, oh shit, that's Ukraine and Russia. That's Trump fascism. You know what I mean? Like, they're not holding back. like international
So
war correspondent Spencer Ackerman is writing Iron Man
so
right
as
now. This
comics
guy's
are
a Pulitzer
produced,
Prize winner.
they sort of surf the zeitgeist.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay. I
so
mean, I
what
sort of knew that, but like, so like it'll be like reflective of the world and creative in different ways, metaphor, but also maybe not so metaphor.
and you hope
Yeah.
because like there's inevitably going to be people who are like, this is just left wing propaganda. This is SJW bullshit, right? But like, okay, fine. I
Good.
mean, it's
We
better
need more
than
of
the
that.
other
Yeah.
kind. And what do you want us to do? Ignore what's going on in the world? So there's all these
So they're political. Yeah.
yeah, basically, yeah. But like well, and also like relatable and accessible. Like
Right.
you should be able to see your world in fiction to a point, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
And like really like how original can you even be if you're going to be purely fantasy or I mean, they've been copying each other for decades already.
Yeah.
So like what are you going to do? But my now what I'm doing and I'm working on a brand new project right now. It's actually it feels I don't want to sound like arrogant or full of myself, but the work I'm doing right now feels more important than ever before. It's nonfiction, it's historical fiction based on actual events, based on a true story. And I've talked to the people involved. And like all the interviewing I've done on my live streams and YouTube channel, all the contact with people, all the correspondence, all the inviting people to talk with me and like convincing them, is good faith. I'm not a grifter. I'm not a bad guy. I'm not trying to trick you. That reputation and the means of being able to communicate clearly to people in an honest and meaningful way has given me the opportunity to create a comic book I'm working on. It's very early on, but I'm working on a comic book right now that I feel is very important. The story is like over 25 years old, but I can't help but listen to the story with it and not draw correlations to right now, like literally today, literally. And I was talking to the main person involved on the phone the other day, and I said, okay, not to interrupt, I'm going to stop you right there. What you just said, can't you see? And he goes, yeah, they're doing it now. And I was like, right, this needs to happen. And he goes, yeah, and he's not the only person involved that I've talked to who said that exact same thing.
So you
The
can't tell
comic
us
book,
though. You're teasing this,
I
man. Come
can't,
on,
I
Jesus
can't.
Christ!
It's a little too early,
You're
but I can't.
fucking driving me nuts over here. What it?
Part
What
of
it?
it is
No, but it sounds exciting. That sounds.
I'll tell you off air,
You can
but like,
give us a time frame for when you can release more information though. Like, what's
oh,
the?
soon. Yeah,
Okay,
soon. You know me, everything's got to see the light of day. And it's not that
that's what I always
instant
say about you.
gratification, though, of being able to just watch something on the Majority Report and bang out a cartoon and get a bunch of likes on
Yeah.
Twitter or whatever. This is like kind of a struggle for me because I want to keep showing people a bunch of it. And it's like, I got to hold back
Mm-hmm.
because I kind of can't believe nobody's done this. Like I had to ask the guy, I was like, does anyone have the rights to your life story? And he goes, no. And I was like, okay, so I that could happen. So I
All
got to
right.
hurry up and get this out. But
My
at the
theory
same
is it's the
time, I don't
Super
want to
Bowl
talk about
shuffle.
it.
It's the story behind the Super Bowl shuffle.
No, that
You're
would be
talking to
that's not
Refrigerator
bad.
Perry.
That's not bad.
Yep.
I'll
Hasn't
tell
happened
you.
since.
I'll tell you off air. But I really do think that my hope is that we all tell stories that how do I want to articulate this? We should all be telling stories that preserve points in history that we can take inspiration from. And that inspiration should bring people off the sidelines permanently. Whatever that means, sidelines, your level of involvement should increase. We should all engage more. You got to do it healthy, right? You can't just, people say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And I'm like, it's kind of a sprint. And it's more like run, walk, because there's a lot of like, no, we got to do this now. Like, I'm not going to do it. They're undoing shit to the American fascism is underway and undoing shit that's going to take a lot longer to fix. So we got to hurry up and stop them so that we can get back to fixing. But like, I want to create stories that inspire people from real life, not fiction.
Right.
I don't want to create imaginary characters that inspire you, because there's so much inspiration from real life people. And I want to do that in terms of quality storytelling. And I want it to inspire people to be motivated to get engaged. And so that's me providing a service to the cause, whatever the cause may be, right?
Yeah.
Activism, it could be.
Something that I hadn't always been really conscious of, and I think this speaks to how it works, is that like cultural products, things that are, landmark stories, or big movies, or it doesn't even have to be those either, but like the genres of the different types of films or TV shows or comics or whatever, they are inherently political, almost to I don't even like saying political, because political sort of implies that you get to have a fighty position about it, right? But there's so much influence that is possible that it can be had through really good storytelling and through movies and through people like like the mafia kind of it's not like it, but the mafia trope of like the wise guys, that's all based on a movie. They were inspired to start acting like that a little bit more because of, I think,
Sure.
Godfather, right? Like
Yeah.
that sort of influence. Not that my dream is to make the mafia guys turn into a bunch of furries. Wouldn't that be funny? That'd be a weird way to do it. I'm going to change the mafia. Why did I go with that? Sorry, I'm losing my brain here.
No, but I get it. It's like when you see
but on a bigger
politics and-
scale, like anti-capitalist films that you don't realize are anti-capitalist. Like, I don't know, Blade Runner is like about a future dystopia that we might not want to live in. It's like there's like, and I'm always curious how thoughtfully, if directors even, or the storytellers themselves know that that's what they're doing, or they're just trying to tell an interesting story about a premise that has got a lot of interesting stuff grounded in the world that we live in. And I think it's probably more intentional than we realize, maybe. Or at least I know if I had the opportunity to do that kind of thing, I would probably be thinking about deeper themes in terms of that as well. But
I think
it's an influence it's one of the few battlegrounds where we probably have the upper hand, is the ability to sort of show people the world without their defenses going up, because it's in a cultural entertainment realm, as opposed to, I'm going to try to argue with you down at the local diner that you're a fucking moron for watching Fox News, and
Yeah. I think a lot of people, fiction, nonfiction, I think a lot of writers and storytellers do degrees of research. And I think like you can't research your story without being influenced by events that happen in the world. And it makes it feel, to the reader, it makes it feel more well-rounded when they're like, oh, that reminds me of X, right? And this is something I like to tell people who want to make comics, especially if they've only read them. The experience between, and I mean, I guess this is true for other formats or mediums, but I'm just talking about comics. The experience between the creator and the page is entirely different than the experience between the page and the reader.
Yeah.
One, it's going to take me a lot more time to produce than it will take you to read it, right? Like you can bang through, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of Akira. Those are notoriously big books that take a very short amount of time to read, although you'll want to go back and absorb the detail and the art. But like the story itself is like breeze. But it took a long time to tell that story, right? So like but besides that, my intentions for creating this thing can't be, I can't rest everything on that. I can't, because there's no guarantee that the reader is going to take it that way. Some things that are supposed to be scary might come across as funny. Some things you wanted to be meaningful are lost on them. The way you construct the panels is piece by piece, whereas the reader is going to see it all at once.
Right.
They're going to see all the panels together for the first time, not one at a time. Like a movie, you're seeing what they want you to see. Whereas a comic, I interpret it the way I want to, not to mention the story that happens between the panels in the gutters. Like there's all kinds of things like that I infer as the creator taking place between the panels, and there's no guarantee anyone's going to pick up on that. And they might pick up on it where I didn't intend for them to, and that's fine.
And
But
so
like,
go ahead.
it's interesting to think you could get lost in that forever. So don't dwell on it. But like, you have to take into account that the finessing and the tweaking and the oh, I need this to be this way because why? The reader might not get it. It's a means of letting go. As the creator, you're making a product that not necessarily in the way that art evolves or art's open to interpretation or in the eye of the beholder, but your storytelling has to be like, legible so that it can be interpreted as the reader sees fit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so like comics, that's why it's an unconventional method of storytelling.
I see that. So gutters is a word I just learned. That's the black shaping around each one.
No,
But it can
between
be
the panels.
between.
Like there's borders for the panels. That's the black box around
Uh-huh.
the, but like all the space between panels. So like, you could see a character looking one way, like if you were writing a comic book script, you wouldn't say panel 1, he gets out of a car and runs down the street. No, panel 1 is he opens the car door. Panel 2 is he's already running down the street. Between there and the gutter, he got out of
I
the
see.
car, probably
Okay.
closed the door. You know what I mean? So that's a
Storyboard sort
very
of
basic
gap.
way of
Yeah, I
explaining
getcha.
it, but
Yeah.
now free your mind, right? And it's like
Yeah.
if somebody's transforming into another being or something, how much of that do you need to show, and how much of it is picked up on between the panels in the gutters?
Right. Like, and I assume one should be motivated by the next, or at least that's a deliberate choice to how much
Yeah,
space to allow
it's sequential to a
in
point. Yeah.
terms of, yeah, like that's one of the things in movies and stuff where just like where they edit to something, it's just like, what motivated that? What's the motivation? How am I supposed to take what just happened and then understand where we are now? That's the main problem I had with Witcher, the series on. Like it
Oh,
was
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
fucking it was just a mess.
Disorienting.
What a mess. But I had no idea why anything was going to happen.
Right.
Motivated was the word that really grasped me. And I also like in comics I've seen, I understand you can break those rules. You can have things overlapping, or I'm
Yeah.
sure it's a big decision to do a single panel full page. And like that's those sort of decisions I imagine newer comic writers probably make, but then older comic writers probably see just, maybe mistakes, or it seems like a very experienced type of thing. Because fundamentally, and the thing that I keep always coming back to, and this is where I'm at in my like creative career, and I've had a very difficult time finding any kind of footing in it, is storytelling. Is like it's not the specifics, the mechanics of the panels and the gutters and the borders, or all that stuff is obviously critical, but it's ultimately about storytelling, and it's a responsibility to the viewer. Like you were saying, the reader's going to experience it differently than the person on the page. And
Yeah.
where I'm kind of going as a video editor and as someone who really I feel like I'm at a point where I'm technically very adept and capable, that I can. It's a more of a creative expression than it is as a technical challenge, right? Like the technical stuff I just sort of fly through. It's the creative stuff that I really love inhabiting, and partly what I'm always thinking about is I almost imagine that I have like I'm going to use it's like I have like strings attached to the viewer's eyeballs.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so from one edit to the next, depending on how you connect relative motion, or I like to match velocities on different like pushes and pulls and stuff like that. It's like you have so much power over the subconscious of the viewer in terms of whether this scene to the next makes sense, and the good story, aside from the pacing and the plotting and the storytelling that is trying to be expressed. Like my dream is to finish this fucking TYT documentary and really make it good so that it exists, whether Cenk ever does actually acknowledge the truth of how the union started or not, so that I can work on other stories. Because I really think I have a skill at that. I at least that's what I've made my life's bet on, basically.
You know what occurs to me on
So,
that topic is that subject isn't going away. Like you would think like, hey man, you got to finish that. It's not going to be relevant anymore. It is still
the
a
the
thing.
union busting
Like,
details, or the
yeah,
labor
like
story, the labor fight.
the
I
whole
mean,
thing.
it
Like, and
it's
especially in regards to Jank and TYT, like that's not gone
yeah,
away. No one's
no.
going to be like, what are you talking about? Like people are rediscovering that topic all the time.
Yes,
Like your work is important.
I think
You
it's
need to finish it, but I wouldn't fret over the fact that it like I get it. You want to be done and move on, but like I wouldn't fret over the fact that it was not done already.
right, right. Yeah, I mean, considering how difficult it is to do
They're
this
like
kind of thing
adding to the
by
story all the
yourself.
time.
I know. Well, that's what I was just editing. this I'm basically making another 15-minute documentary about the Jubilee episode, basically.
Somebody should pick it up and like make a series out of it.
There's a whole drama here. There's a film in this. There's a TED talk in this. There's a book in this.
Yeah,
Not that I'm trying to turn it into some universe of products, because
I get you.
partly what I struggled with when I was like deciding if I should really try to finish this thing, because I was only going to make like a 10-minute, 15-minute video, being like, hey, so I want a worker's perspective out here, and then it just kept blossoming. Is do I want to inhabit Jank? I think he's a kind of a toxic, intense person in a lot of ways, and the problem is, if it succeeds, then I'm cursed even more by that factor. But it's not about Jank. That's the whole thing I want people to get their heads around, is that this is about the class war. This was a
Yeah.
very clear and weird. It was like both classic and unusual. It was classic because it was an old story. Group, sorry, I just went off on a whole thing here, but like a group of workers were fed up with their working conditions, and they used collective bargaining to rally each other, and they grew solidarity to stand up to their boss. They needed courage, they needed strength, and they could only get it from each other. They stood up to their boss, and the boss busted the union because he couldn't handle having his power challenged.
And that
And
you can literally find that story over and over and over and
it's
over
every
and over.
story.
And it's
It's
not
every
going away.
union story,
It's
especially.
getting yeah.
Then you add on the layer that it happened at the home of progressives with this online media thing. So
And
it's
that's the
inherently
betrayal. Yeah.
well, there's that, yeah, and like the film itself and my project is a political act. This isn't just me trying to be like, ah, man, it's a political act to take this encounter with abrasive capitalism and turn it into lessons for others to teach them. I want people to feel some catharsis about the anger that's contained in the humor, in a sense. Like one of the lines I use is, it's the perfect film for anyone who's ever had a job. Like we actually could
Right.
together, we could come together and hold a guy responsible for doing union busting. But it's not it's not just me, it's all of us. And but then you add on the other layer of he's running for Congress while doing union busting. So now it becomes a media drama. Now it becomes about journalistic ethics. Now it becomes about Bernie Sanders doing national like national politics, Bernie endorsing, unendorsing. There's a whole 10-minute piece in or something like that. It becomes about misinformation. So it's about power and all this stuff. So I'm really trying to like hold these threads together. And it's two dramas. It's the labor fight, and it's the media and the political dramas. Those are like the two.
Well,
And
that's why it's good that you've already started producing it, because I can see
Yeah.
how you would just get bogged down in what do I do first? Where do I go? What's the priority?
Yeah.
How much investment do I give to which storyline, right? And it's like, no, you're already putting it out there. Like you're balancing it in final product, which is smart.
I need about 6 months of editing to finish it, and I'm just so trapped in not having money.
Yeah.
That's yet another part of the power dynamic, is like I have to figure out how to make income so I don't end up homeless. And if I didn't have to stress about that, I'd be able to just go full Tony Stark on this motherfucker for like, in a cave.
Maybe you should
building.
crowdfund it.
I've tried. I mean, I'm not saying I've tried enough, but I have. Oh shit, my mic I have a GoFundMe that I did a little bit in February. It's still active. I'm trying to put together another push, but I need help doing that too.
Yeah.
I do believe we could I'm trying to raise 50 grand. I owe my roommate 40 grand. And I'm in severe rent debt, and I'm probably going to move back to Illinois at some point soon to live with my parents. So yeah, but I feel like if we could, and the world is crazy right now. I mean, it's always been, but it's really bad. That this total shit show.
Oh yeah.
It's difficult to break through the clutter. It's hard to get people. I just wish that the online world could kind of pick up on it and see that there's a winnable fight here, and it is, and he is frantically denying that he did any union busting, which is wild because it's not my opinion. It's the NLRB's opinion. It's so well documented. Anyway, I don't mean to get too far afield. We did jump into that a little bit.
It's okay,
much.
but just in terms of like the world not getting any better, it's I have heard, not recently, a lot of people are coming around finally, but I have heard in the past people go, it's always been bad out there. And I'm like, but that doesn't, you're like kind of implying that it levels out
Right.
bad. It gets worse. I mean, it's the fuck kind of point is that? What kind of counterpoint is
Yeah, I
that?
don't like that.
Like,
Yeah.
it's
Although I
always
think I
been
said it.
bad. Oh, okay, so don't do any. What are you talking about? I'm
Yeah.
not just complaining. I'm not just commiserating. I'm saying we should do something.
But you don't want to
But
be a
anyway,
slave anymore? It's always been bad. What are you talking
yeah.
about? Why would we
But like
change
you're
that?
doing something. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's I hope you're right. I hope people latch onto that. They should.
Yeah, it's a communications challenge. I mean, it's just part of the whole. Even just as a filmmaker, I like inhabiting the filmmaker side of it too. Is like I have to be a marketer. You have to do, and there's a reason they don't usually do this shit in document or in groups. So I need a few people or
Yeah.
a lot of people to come together. A
And
few
I
wealthy benefactors would get me pretty far. It doesn't take, what 50 grand for a 4-year project is nothing, honestly, in
right.
terms of
But
expenses and stuff.
I've
But
been using this analogy way too much. But
all right.
like I might have used it already today, just talking to you. I'm not
Oh,
sure. But like I use the car analogy. Like we all, are capable of driving a car, knowing the rules, gas pedal, brake, clutch, whatever it is. It needs fuel, it needs oil, it needs maintenance,
washer fluid,
do the lights work, all that stuff, right?
seatbelt grease.
But like you don't have to know how to fix your car. You don't have to know how to identify the different parts of the engine and quickly see what's wrong and know how to replace it and build it. And like, you're not rotating the tires on your own. I mean, maybe some people are, but generally not.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like most people wouldn't even know what spark plugs do, where they go, why you should replace all that stuff. So, like, I look at all of our various projects. When you take on a project like this, you suddenly have to be the guy who does literally all of it. There isn't like a point where you hand it off to an expert who does the heavy lifting. You're doing all the heavy lifting. You're doing it all. And like the fact that you haven't allowed all those like intricacies to take away from the overall point of it and like the creative, your stuff is highly creative and it hasn't diminished at all while you work on like the financing, like all that stuff is it's such a big deal and it's got to just make you like a better person. Like if that's the only thing you can take away from it, you are definitely going to come out of this like just like there's a difference I think between showing your quality and knowing your quality. Like if I had to keep proving myself, well, why do you have to know what I already know about me? You know?
Right.
So like you can hold your head up, I think.
Well, I
So anyway,
appreciate
it's a
that.
big deal, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Good for
think.
you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
Kind
to
of
the day that it's over, but also not. I'm not in a rush necessarily. It's but like my real grand hope is that it becomes a resource to look back on in like 15, 20 years. People refer back to this movie and say, "Oh, it's super interesting. There's a crazy story, and it's about worker rights and solidarity." But also, like, I also think that it's something that the online left can celebrate if we all work on it. In
yeah.
other words, get it the attention that it needs for me to fund it, to finish it, and then promote it, because we're guaranteed plenty of Vanguard coverage about Jank's upcoming meltdowns about having
Right, yeah.
we're
Yeah.
guaranteed all
Well
sorts of
then
stuff. That's
and
not the only promise, but the main thing is like we could. My dream is that I'm not the only one celebrating when it's finally finished and it's out. I want it
yeah.
to be like, hey, everybody, Hank's movie's coming up. We finally got it funded. He's going to be in the cave, for the next 6 months, but we're going to be ready to launch this motherfucker in spring and do some stuff, and it'll be great. So yeah, um,
I think
I
that
have a thought about this space. If we could talk about that after your next.
oh no, go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
no, finish. I want to
I
hear.
was gonna segue into that. I
Me
was gonna
too.
talk
But
about strength in numbers and working with people as a collective.
well, perfect. Do your sentence you
No, I
had
was gonna
canned.
go into just say that's kind of why
Okay.
when it came to this space, I wasn't trying to be I'll do a new YouTube channel and I'll have more guests on. And it's like that doesn't share the responsibility.
Okay. So let me ask you this. All right. So this space, I first heard of it on some BlueSky account followed me, and I was like, what the fuck is this space? Some Rachel Maddow joint? What's going on here? Because she used to say, watch this
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
No idea. But then word came out, or saw it, and it's a collective or a co-op, and it is a online media. You describe it. Why the hell am I trying to? You're the guy.
We call it a collective. It's a working class media collective. It's a collection of voices. We're adding to it all the time. I'm not kidding. We really are. It. I sat down to. I'm never quite satisfied with where I am at creatively, and always need to either lean into something that's not working more so that I can really prove to myself that it has value or not, or I switch up things. Recently, somebody referred to me as an innovator. Okay. Maybe I'm being innovative, but I don't know if
Well,
I'm
human
innovative.
connection does seem innovative in the world we're in right now.
Yeah. So I looked at my YouTube. I was like, what do I want to watch? Who's on tonight? And I'm looking at my YouTube subscriptions, like who I subscribe to. And I was like, damn, why can't this just be like one channel? Why is this YouTube? Why can't it be one channel on YouTube? And then I was like, surely somebody's had that idea before, right? And I immediately thought of the Young Turks, and I was like, they're a network, but they want to be like a cable channel. I don't necessarily want that. But that might be like a starting point to keep it simple. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm just trying to have one that more people want to use. So I started asking around, and I was like, has anybody ever done something where it was like one YouTube channel, it was like a single live stream that went on for hours and hours and hours? It was just a bunch of different shows, but it's people who already have their own platforms and stuff. And a lot of the replies I got were like, yes, people have tried this before. It's never really gotten off the ground. That to me is not enough of a reason not to keep exploring the idea. But it meant to me that we're going to run into all of the hangups and pitfalls that people previously ran into, which led them to decide not to proceed. And as soon as we ran, and so I started asking people. I called David Grossman, who is Benjamin Dixon's producer, because he and I talk, and he had been very helpful with me launching like my own streaming and like equipment and technical aspects. And so I was like, hey, let's go straight to the technical guy, and this is me like not just wanting to be a designer, but understanding that production is involved. So I said, let's have this conversation with that guy at the table. And then I wanted to talk to my frequent co-host and pal, Jake Draugelis of What You Can Do, which is another YouTube show, because he has network television experience. He was like a newsman. And I was like, let's get him at the table. That's going to help with scheduling, programming, and who knows what. There are things I don't know that I need experts on. So then the three of us talked about it for a good long while, right up until the election. So from like July of last year to November. And then I think everyone took a step back after that. But at the new year, I reached out to, or Andrea Ravinsky, another co-host of mine and the host of Above It All, reached out to me and said, what happened to that idea you had? And I was like, let's talk about it. And then we got Ben Dixon involved, and the four of us took it from January to June. And the amount of frustration and mystery involved between January and June, I don't know why there's a thumb up. Can you see that?
I think it's because you made thumb. I think it's got some kind of.
I'm sorry. So the amount of effort and time and work that went in between January and June, I'll just tell you, there was a point where I'm like, this is not going to work. I'm not doing this. I can't do it. It's too much for me. I'm not good at it. I'm bad at it. I'm ruining it. I'm the reason why it's not working. And because I had a team, and because I'm pals with these guys, they talked me through it, and they were like, no, you have to understand the value in doing this.
What was some of the obstacles though? Like, you don't have to get super specific, but kind of.
Everyone involved is independent, self-promoter, self-starter, self-everything. And like, so trying to get them to break away from that in terms of working as a collective was understandably foreign to them. They were like, huh, what?
Right.
And so look at it this way. We ran into all the things that other people who tried to launch such a thing ran into, and it always came down to, oh, you can't make money off this.
Yeah.
But we're not trying to make money off it, so we can keep going. Right? So like, but then we run into another thing where we're like, oh, it's not profitable. Well, that's okay. We'll just keep going. This is why the Young Turks now have the Polymarket studio, right?
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, it's not profitable. You're not going to have any stream of revenue. It just doesn't work that way. It's a weird business model. The algorithm,
Especially the topics that come up on lefty streams. It's like,
So
just itself.
you know, I thought I was cursed, not keeping in mind
about you.
not keeping in mind that in spring and summer, like as far as acquiring guests for my show, spring and summer are terrible because everyone's planning to take time off because that's how capitalism has formed our vacation cycle, right? So it's like Christmas, holiday season, and then, yeah, exactly. And then you don't have time for me because of that. But like, you know, people weren't getting back to me and I wasn't able to, I was like, am I saying too much? Are my emails like phone book length correspondence? Should I be shorter? Am I not clear when I'm being brief, you know? And started to weigh on me. I had all these personal things going on in my life. And I was like, this is a lot of work and effort for something that might not even work. I got past that. I'll just say Ben Dixon called me and we had like, I don't know, 45-minute conversation. And that man he's like, it's like I needed somebody to be a pastor in that moment without trying to sell me on the religious stuff. You know what I mean? Like, he's not trying to get seats in the pews at church.
Pep. Yeah.
He was trying to help me through something in my life. And like I said, there's a lot of personal stuff that was weighing on me at the same time. And that aside, I was like, dude, I got it. We can end this call right now. I've course corrected in the moment. I got it. Don't worry. I fucking got this. And he was like, there you go. Right. And so like he put it in perspective for me in a way that I was unable to see it. And that's the point of the collective. The more people you have on your side, on your team, in your life, in your sphere, the more opportunity you have for someone to do away with blind spots and do away with your inability to see things, to take the blinders off, to give you the right perspective, to blow away the fog, to clear things up. I'm not landing on the right analogy, but you know what I'm saying? Like, like they gave
power
me
in the group. Yeah,
they gave me the ability,
and it's physical, and it's financial, and it's emotional. It's all solidarity. It's all nutrients in the flower pot of solidarity.
Exactly. Yeah. And it gave me the point where I was like, that's going to stand in my way. Fuck this.
My skis are on.
Nothing is going to stand in my way. Like, I am not going to not do this. And then so, you know, after that, it became, it felt like no effort at all. It is a lot of effort. It is a job.
Right.
We always say it's not a job, it's a role. We need people to fill roles.
Interesting.
I'm filling a role. It's not a job. So like if you can't commit 30, 40 hours, all right, do what you can. We want you here. We had 3 different hosts today say something came up, I can't be there. Fucking no problem. There's no scenario where I or anyone involved in our team is going to go, not cool, man. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't be there? You got it. You want to change your format? No problem. You want to change your show's name? Right. You want a co-host? Who are they? Let's talk. You want a guest? Bring them on. Somebody said, is it okay if I talk about this on my show? And I was like, it's your show. I'm helping you have an audience.
Let's just give
You aren't doing this for me.
A quick look at the shelf of offerings. As you stream Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays.
We are
12-hour blocks or
starting next week. We do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, starting at 1 p.m. Eastern to 10 or 1 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and like whoever the last show is has freedom to just go, you
Okay.
know.
All on this
But
space on
that's our
YouTube.
foundation.
What's the
Yeah.
channel name? Just like the
Just go to
URL.
YouTube or go to thisspace.tv. That's our
Okay.
website. You can find all our social media there. It's a very easy website. You can even watch us live from there. But you could also just go to YouTube. Our hope is that anytime you put in this space, see, now this was a name that nobody liked right away, but all came around to. They're like, that's, I don't get it. And I was like, but everyone's always saying when you complain or praise the left, you're like, people in this space, you know, if you think about it, whenever, as soon as you're in this space, there's like an extended universe, this space, a greater this space.
Yeah.
My hope is that anytime somebody looks up this space, they'll see us. And when they see us, they literally see us, all the different people involved.
Right.
So you look up this space, you'll notice on our thumbnails we aren't putting pictures of Trump or Epstein or Hexeth or
Yeah.
whoever. It's the host. That's who you'll see when you come to this space, because it's not just this space on YouTube, it's this space. They already have their own platforms. So like if you really dig somebody, like we added a new person last week, Vizora Down Under. They're broadcasting from Australia. So if you discover them, you're like, oh, there's a new show on at 10 Thursdays. Let me check it out. Oh my God, this is amazing. Oh, they've been on Twitch and YouTube on their own for years. Oh my gosh. Like, I could go back and watch, and I can watch, and they're 5 days a week. They're not just on this space. So that's the point, right? And so to be able to bring as many people to this space for like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour a week, whatever it is, 2 hours a week, to be able to bring people on for that amount of time just so that they can get more subscribers and followers and monetary promotion and the ability to monetize on their own platforms is the point of the collective. And so somebody, exactly, but like cross pollinate the audiences, but also like we have to demonstrate our numbers. We have to show that the left is unified. And there, right now, I said this on the Majority Report, and I didn't tell anybody I was going to say it, but I was like, if you're just out there bitching and moaning about everything that's wrong with the left and you aren't coming over to us, then you are missing out on the potential to have a solution. I'm not saying this space is a solution, but it may very well be where we come up with the solutions. We can flood the zone too. This is exactly, everyone goes, right-wing media is leaving left-wing media behind on the independent circuit, right? Like in the independent realm. Like they are shredding us. Oh my God. Well, this is how they started. It was essentially just like a collective. I don't think they would have called it that, but it was like, let's just get as many right-wing voices as we can in one place, and then we'll branch out and they'll see that we all have our own thing, but we're still in this one. This is how it starts. So like,
yeah, plus billionaires.
Fuck aren't we doing this for?
Right. Yeah.
Like, we got to do this. So anyway, it's up and running. It's going well. It's over 2 months in.
And
we're adding people. It's not slowing down.
3,000 subscribers from 0 in like 3 months. And
2 months.
2 months. That's impressive. I mean, that's amazing.
Thanks.
That's like just to reach those milestones. And so my question is, though, if you're okay with a little time here, you got to go.
Yeah. No, you're good.
As you grow, because you brought it up at the beginning, and I'm not saying this because I'm skeptical. I'm saying this because I think you and I share a brain that's a little stuck in the practical side of the world as well. I think that's why sounds like you're a pretty good manager and figuring out systems your whole life. Money. So what is there? Audience funded is a model for making money. I think sometimes I'm constantly bringing up my donation links, but I don't have anywhere near an audience that can support that, and by sheer numbers, and I feel kind of embarrassed about the money, and I feel burdened by I hate money. Like I find it to be sort of this noxious substance, but nevertheless, what do you do with how do you collectively distribute if you start to get advertising revenue, or if you have do you have where is your head on how to manage the money side as well as like, and it's sort of a separate question, but similar in terms of the ego side, like there's a lot of personal, any kind of collective, even in aspirational cooperative type, you're going to end up with the occasional misunderstanding or conflict. So you need conflict healing, you need conflict resolution. Do you anticipate and I hope it doesn't sound like I'm trying to be pessimistic. I'm saying, but like these sorts of challenges come with because you don't want to stop at 5,000 subscribers, right? You probably want to get to 100. You probably want to get
Oh
to
yeah,
500. You probably want to get to a million. When you're at
sure.
a million and you have possible brand sponsorships and stuff, and you have, not to say I'm not saying like on the I'm an influencer brand deal, but like one of Sam Cedar's co-op coffee companies wants to market through you guys or something like that. I see money as I think you should try to get some money from it, even though that's not the point. It should be a subsidiary or a secondary or thirdary kind of thing, obviously. But however, I think like I don't recommend being poor. I've been and I've always struggled. It is so
Right.
hard to go through life with the stress of the amount of mental calculations I have to do every single time I spend a single fucking dime on whether that's okay to spend that money absolutely kills me. I'm so exhausted by the lack of money. So my
Right.
overall question is just like, where are you on all that?
My my um my personal commitment to what's going on currently is launch and stability.
Yes, yeah,
The the collective should, and we talk about everything, and everything you can think of that could go wrong or would be a challenge has already presented itself. It
mm-hmm.
has. And we're dealing with it. And some of it we looked at proactively, like in the planning stage when we were like, what about this? And then somebody came up with a solution. We added that to a frequently asked question document. And so we documented all of that in terms of now we can show somebody else. If you're wondering it, we already did. It's on here. And that was our desire to be as transparent as possible ongoing. But there we aren't planning it in terms of this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. This is our end goal. Nobody has that. We haven't talked to anybody about that. We bring on new people. They don't even ask about that. They just want to be involved with it now. And my own personal perspective, and no one, I'm not saying like the team cosigns to everything I say here, but and I've made it clear to them. I mean, I talk about this a lot. My personal perspective is that anything can happen, and we mean that in a good way for a change. It could run itself. I might not be involved in a week, and it's still going. It may be wildly successful, making money hand over fist, and everyone's benefiting from it somehow, and I'm not there. Okay. Maybe I am there, but I'm not in charge now. But like I'm not in charge of things, or I'm not filling the role I am now down the road. I'm doing less. Maybe I'm just a host. Maybe I'm just doing a show Wednesday night.
Permanent
Like,
guest.
yeah, and I don't look at it in terms of, oh shit, and then we're gonna have to do this, and then we're gonna have to do that, and then we're gonna have to do this. We look at it in terms of, well, now we're at a point where we could do this. Let's just talk about it. And we never talk about it in terms of we got to do it. So like you get 1,000 subscribers. YouTube says you could be monetized. I don't give a fuck what YouTube says about anything. So like there's no way that we're going to be like, bring on the ad revenue. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
we go,
yeah.
okay, well, we've reached 1,000. Let's talk about that. Just like let's put everything out there and just think about it and mull it over, and what do you want to do? And inevitably, I have so much trouble with that word that I love to use.
It's all right.
Inevitably, it comes back to we have to be talking about important shit on air right now. We have to be broadcasting right now. We have to make sure that everyone is ready for the show. I have to make sure that we're bringing on new people. I have to make sure they understand that we want to be inclusive and we can't have copyright strikes, right? Like that's important. We're all of our ability to keep doing this is at stake. It is not anyone's livelihood. The second this space becomes somebody's bread and butter, is that's a level of risk that I don't know if I'm qualify. I would happily be the guy to take responsibility for such an organization, but I'm not setting out going, we're going to be rich. Wait
Yeah,
and
yeah,
see.
right.
This is Cenk fucking Uger. He's saying, he would, I mean, he was probably sitting down at meetings going, you guys, we're 5 years out. Look at our 5-year plan again. Bring that board out here. Show them the 5-year plan. We're going to be making so much money at this point, and then we'll do this, and then
Well,
television, we're coming for you, or
Wolf
whatever the
Blitzer
fuck.
will be jealous. That's not. That's
What
not a direct quote.
we're doing
He wants
is,
to be bigger than CNN.
yeah, what we're doing is, hey, this person has a great show. I wonder if they're available. Or, hey, this person, we have a list of people emailing us now. It's pretty cool. We're like, this person wants to get involved. What do you think? Oh, should we bring on a 1-hour show at this point? Or should we be asking people for pre-taped shorter content? Who would be good at that? Who's already doing that? This has nothing to do with profit motive or revenue streams. You know what I mean? It's not like,
right.
Where's the merch? We're not. It's so refreshingly not that. It is about, you're going on Twitch and YouTube every day. Do you want to give us an hour? Do you want to be a part of something where we can make a difference, where we may inspire boots on the ground? Not that we're even like attempting to do that, but like when Superman came out, the right was freaking out. And I was like, let's fucking counter that. Let's literally every show, if you want to talk about Superman, talk about fucking Superman in whatever aspect you want. Let's just make it that when you Google it, it's not the only thing that comes up is Ben Shapiro and all these jerk offs. Like, let's really, let's use our platform. Let's do special election coverage. People want to do that, and they're really good. Any one of us could just say, oh shit, we got to fill an hour. I can broadcast for an hour. Guess what? Never went to broadcasting school. I don't know what I'm doing.
And I'm fucking great at it.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like, these people have an opportunity to put all their experience to use, to put in the real world, to get instant gratification, to build audiences. There were people who were doing YouTube and getting like 0 to 6 views a video. And now they have 66 people watching them live. Like, if you were doing it for 0 to 6, then I have to think you'll do it for 66 or 70, right?
Right.
And that's enough. It's not, dude, you could be making money at this. Come over to us, you'll make money. By the way, here's my percentage. And then you got to be here at this hour. And if you take off, that's going to hurt you. We're not doing that. This is how you get grifters. Okay? You say, this will sound familiar to you. You say, hey, you produce content for us. You do all the work. If you don't get a certain number of clicks, we'll check in with you and let you know you need to get more views. If you don't get them, we'll cut you loose. Now, the people who jump on board will go, okay, I think I can figure out how to get the views. What are their politics? Okay, yeah, I'll just do that style of politics. And then when I get successful enough at it, I realize I can break out and do this on my own. And I don't need that style of politics. And in fact, if I shift my politics to the right, I'll be embraced by the right for being their token whatever. And like, now I'm popular because of that. And I already know how to monetize thanks to that method that thanks to the process that these so-called progressives had set up. I'm describing Rebel HQ. That's exactly how it works. To say that. Like, when they bring people on, they're like, you have to get this certain number of views. They're going to attract people who know how to do that, and they'll just fake the politics. It's very simple to go, look at all these people talking about progressive politics and issues online. I can do that. I can fake that. And then also I have this going for me, which is how I'll get ahead. And then I can shift right. And now there's that whole dynamic and aspect. And so now I'm more successful, and we can rub it in their faces in hindsight. So like, we're not doing that.
Yeah,
what we're
Sandy
doing
Lovis
is giving
on the previous episode.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we are bringing people on board, and Sandy is on. Left of the Box is one of our first we reached out to them like first, I think. But like, we are bringing people on who want to get more of an audience, And then some people, we say directly to them, we go, you will help these people get more of an audience. You're a big enough name that if you're on board, look at how you're going to bring all these other people along. You are inadvertently promoting smaller creators without having to go out of your way to do it. We're doing the work. This is how we say it. We go, we provide the racetrack, the race car, and the pit crew. All you have to do is sit down and drive because that's what you do. However, there's all these benefits to it, right? Now we can have more drivers. Now we can have longer turns around the track. The racing analogy falls apart.
Free pretzels.
We can build
free
off
pretzels from the
right.
concession.
Yeah, right.
Jeez.
But like the second somebody goes, what's in it for me? I start telling them all these things that's in it for them. And if they ever said like, well, I'm not going to get rich off that, I'd be like, well, we're not doing that. But guess what? Nobody has said that. Right. And in fact, when I'm pitching it to people, I go, okay, so look, last thing, I don't get paid. Nobody gets paid. Our producer is the only paid employee. We have to, that guy sits down at the beginning of the stream and doesn't leave to the end. And there's a lot of work that coordinating between him, myself, and all the hosts. Mm-hmm. He's got to get. That would be free labor at that point. But like, that's still not being generated by this space. Like we took care of that on the front end. You know what I mean? We're not beholden to anybody there. We don't need that level of transparency. So like there hasn't been one person who ever said, wait, what? We don't get paid? What the fuck? No super chats? What the fuck? I go, well, super chats, a percentage goes to YouTube. If you use an Apple device, a percentage goes to them.
They get 30%.
Why are you doing super chats at all?
Yeah.
Like, why are you doing that? Let's really think about it. And so, you know, we're doing it in a way that is, I think, altruistic, sincere, and pure. Although we do not have purity tests. A lot of people go, I know you have a strong vetting process. We don't. We just need to make sure people know how, like, yeah, you got to be on the left. You know what I mean? But your show doesn't even have to be political. So we just kind of need to know. I think these days it's important to know people's fucking politics, right? And like, are you left leaning? Are you going to try and put right wing shit in there? Please don't. But like, also, like, we need you to know what's required to do a podcast, even 1 hour a week, because, you know, the prep for 1 hour could be 2 to 3 hours. That's a 4 hour commitment for a 1 hour show. And you have to be live in front of people, and you can get unmotivated. You can do it for years and be unmotivated over and over and over again and need to take breaks. So we need people to know what's involved if they're going to be with us. That said, we hope that the 1 p.m. to like midnight, 1 a.m., 3 days a week is a suitable foundation to responsibly build from. And so, you know, we'll add a fourth day, we'll add more hours in the day and all this, and see where it goes. It's anything can happen, and for a change, that's a positive.
Well, congratulations on how far you've come already, and that you've already, you know, learned. I think it sounds like you've learned to trust yourself and to trust the others. That when you hit those speed bumps, you're gonna be able to deal with them.
Fuck those speed bumps, man.
Fuck
We're going right over those.
That's right.
I used to be afraid.
Dust in my backwash.
I used to have a phobia of speed bumps, but I'm slowly getting over them.
Good. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the stage where you're at 1 million.
You get the dad joke there, just right over your head, isn't it? I'm slowly getting over my phobia.
I have a sense of humor. I don't do what you do. I don't know what the fuck you're even at.
I used to tell only elevator jokes because they work on multiple levels, but elevators, multiple levels. Come on, man. These are stand-up comedy.
Don't fucking offend me, motherfucker. No, I do puns?
Actually miss. You're using puns.
I do miss jokes like that. I do actually kind of miss simple jokes.
Simple, right?
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, well, the simple, but the minded is quiet there. So yes, dude, I think it's awesome. I'm super excited to see that it's already, you know, because I don't mean this in a negative, cynical sense, but you kind of expect failure, not with you, but I've been in the media world for, you know, since 2013 working at TOT, but before that I was doing stand-up and doing podcasting, and people try and they fail, and that's just sort of the natural process of this kind of thing anyway, you know. But I think that like the concept is so solid, and that there's so much potential in the collective and in that power, and like what I'm dialing in on with my whole thing is the two social models of power, or of social models for relationships. One is trust, or one is domination, subjugation, and one is solidarity and trust. So the thing, and that's the tension between a union busting boss and a group of workers battling the union, is that we used solidarity and trust and mutual respect and interest and love for each other to grow something that was more powerful than Cenk Uygur was. And that's the story of every union that defeats the union buster, because all they know is domination and subjugation. Wharton School of Business power model, social model for relationship is I give orders, you take them. You sign this piece of paper that says you get no benefits, and then you go work next to people who get benefits. What are you going to do about it? Well, we had something that was stronger than they were, solidarity. Right. And I think that's what's going to carry you guys. And I'm really excited for the dramatic flameouts you all have when you reach 1 million subscribers and you're fighting over money and shit. No. But like, it'll be so cool to see a cooperative model work as a successful, and I hate to use the word business, but a successful something bigger that can be a model for the future. Because we do need to organize humans into groups that do things.
Yeah.
We do need to figure that out. I get frustrated with the left when they talk about jumping towards socialism, communism without going through those steps towards what does it mean to detach capitalism, re-engineer parts of it, because there aren't all like I'm not saying it's all bad, it's all good. I'm saying that there are parts of the way human beings structure themselves that is especially from the starting point of a capitalist framework, that we need to work on. I have this whole concept called corporate mortality. I think a business should become publicly owned after the founder dies. We should model it off nature. Nature has life cycles. It doesn't do immortal overconsumption. I'm getting into my own bullshit here. Sorry. So congratulations. I'm thrilled to see it and keep watching. And you guys are going to keep growing. And I really want to pick your brain more about comics and stuff. And but I'm about to start a new show myself called Pixel Mover, where I do a lot of my creative work on camera, hopefully to sort of build out like a tutorial and like maybe I need to try to make money. I'm doing it. I mean, it's not just a money grab. Believe me, it's not a grab. But I'm trying to set myself up to live independently, where I'm not going to be homeless, and maybe I can do that.
People got to eat.
Come on. I got to fucking eat. I mean, like I have to make more money than $5,000 to $10,000 a year in order to get by.
It's why I'm going to get off here, go do one personal thing for a few hours, come right back to work on this space some more.
Yeah, and I'm we're
trying to help these people get out there.
Yeah, man, you're doing a great job. So yeah, but I'm excited to lean into the things that excite me, which is like the art and the creativity stuff. That's why I'm so curious about your background too, because
I love it. And thanks for giving me a chance to just get all that out. I love talking about it.
Anytime we can come on and just go real dark. You just be a real fucking maniac. I do want to know if you have a dark side, because you're such a nice guy. And I have my radar goes, but I also I'm a very I'm not saying I'm suspicious. I'm saying I want to crack that open and see what's underneath it. And but I feel that's about every human being, not just you. You're not.
Yeah, we'll talk about AI next time.
Oh, fucking AI! Jesus Christ! Don't even.
You want to get dark quick?
We need a new Amish movement. We need to just lock it down at 1996.
Yeah, where's all the Luddites? Come on.
Yeah, seriously, it's deadly. I mean, so like we need to change things for planetary defense. It's not even about fucking morals or anything. It's about we're literally going to kill everybody. All right, good stuff. Thank you, sir.
All right, bud. Yeah, thanks, man.
We'll be in touch. This will probably be a couple weeks, but meanwhile, we'll say goodbye. I'm not going to hang up the call, but you can go if you want. But bye, everybody. Okay, go support this space and the Letterhack and everywhere else. Everybody there. But.